Aida Farhat. Welcome to Conscious Heart Solutions. I'd like to introduce my guest, Miss Salini Apodaca.
Apodaca.
Apodaca. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm going to share a short opening statement, and then I'm going to open it up for you to share more with the audience and the guests. Or I'm sorry, not the guests. I'm a little nervous because I'm worried. I have a new puppy, everyone. And some of y'all know that already, but he sometimes distracts me. So just be patient with me. I appreciate it. Salini, when this is an opening statement on Salini's website, and you're welcome to go visit it, and I encourage you to do that. When love is the bottom line, Earth and her people will heal. Salini is the author of Emerging from the Matrix, Healing Human Trauma and Ending Global Enslavement. She calls to humanity to awaken now. This is a pivotal moment when Mother Earth ascends into higher consciousness, bringing a wave of light and love to the entire universe. Welcome, Salini. I love that statement. That's a lovely opening statement for sure.
Well, Om Namah Shivaya to everyone, which means take refuge in the Holy Spirit or God, Goddess, however you want to call it. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. It is from my website, salini.love. And that's my mission. I'm here to awaken. And that's what I was born to do, to heal and to awaken. Of course, you go through a lot of stages to get there, but, would you like me to share a little bit about my history for your guests?
Yes, please do. Yes.
Okay. Most of your guests probably don't know me. So I'm a healer at this point, and I've reached that point of transformation where I'm now healing other people. But I started life as an MK Ultra sex slave for the Masons through my father, who was a Mason, and his father and his father before him, and most likely it's been going on for a long time. And I don't know who and how many of them were, but I could tell that other family members were Masons. And so my siblings and I got put into the MK Ultra program, and each of us was put into there's close to 200 MK Ultra programs, and they're all over the world. And they were brought here by Joseph Mengele, who escaped to the United States from Germany, and they gave him a new identity, a job, a house, everything. So he wasn't ever held accountable for what he did. And he is the creator of the MK Ultra program. And a lot of my clients I have today met him. So he went by Mr. Green in America. And but my particular story, I didn't cross paths with him. I was taken in as a beta sex kitten, sex slave. I was trained to be a sex bomb, and they were preparing me for either Hollywood or a computerized brain, a person with a super computer brain. So I went through several mind control programs, and the last one that I went through was the Evelyn Wood's speed reading. And so that's a front for MK Ultra programs. And so I grew up in California in the Bay Area. It's just riddled with MK Ultra programs, and especially in Silicon Valley. I was born in Silicon Valley in San Jose. So I didn't know. I mean, none of us knew how mind controlled we all are here in the United States and in the world in general. But I went to the University of California, and over the course of my recovery, I discovered that most of the universities, especially the ones that are considered, really high level universities like Yale and Stanford and Harvard, these are all indoctrination mind control centers. And most of the hospitals are, and the school system is. So I was shuttled around from all these different places, not knowing, didn't remember it when I was a child, because it stops around, the worst of it stops around 7. And then I was taken into higher level mind control programs, but I didn't know that they were mind control programs because I wasn't being tortured anymore. So I was prepared to be a sex symbol. Whereas other siblings, one of my siblings went through the Alpha program, which was for like doctors, lawyers, politicians, judges, people like that. And then there's another program called the Delta program, which is for the assassins, and there's a breeder program, and there's supercomputer programs. There's a lot of different programs. So that was how I started, but that was only the first part of my childhood. The second part of my childhood was initiation into the light and into healing. So it's an interesting childhood I had, because my father was dark, my mother was light. My mother had no idea what my father was doing. She was really checked out, as he was gone a lot. So, she didn't know what he was up to. I don't think she realized that he was involved in all kinds of nefarious activities. And she didn't care that much, because basically she was involved in writing and healing and her own stuff. So Mom was an incredible healer. She was a Renaissance woman and a painter, a writer. She even won the Pulitzer Prize for journalism for covering the earthquake in California in 1989. And she was a concert pianist and had a full scholarship to Juilliard. So she was an amazing person, but she was very suppressed because my father was abusive and he was a sorcerer. So there was a lot of black magic going on, and I don't think she realized that he was controlling her. And I don't think any of us realized it at first, but I did at some point. I started saying, you know what, this is not okay with me. You get to be a teenager and you're ready to fight back. And I just told him, you're not going to do to me what you're doing to the rest of the family. And I'm going to break free and I'm going to go on. And so there was a power struggle, and I had to go through breaking free. But in the meantime, my mother brought the Grand Master of Reiki, Hawayo Takata, who is recognized globally as the Grand Master. And this is the original, correct, authentic Reiki. And she came, amazingly enough, and stayed with us like 3 times a year and taught Reiki from our house. And this is where I saw the light in my father. Even as dark as he was, there was still some light. He took Reiki. He loved it that I was a Reiki practitioner. He supported me in that. And I think that's one of the reasons that I really took off in that direction, because I was never criticized in my spiritual life. And he was really proud of me that I did that, which was interesting. He was very unconscious to his own behavior. He didn't even know that he was schizophrenic.
That's so beautiful that you hold that kind of
yeah.
Your father.
I mean, nice. I don't want to hate him for being mentally ill, and for being himself a child of abuse, and his father and grandfather both molested and abused him and dragged him into programs. So, I mean, he was crazier than his 2 siblings, but I think it was my initiation. He initiated me into the dark. He showed me what they do. My mother initiated me into the light. I became a Reiki master. Mrs. Takata worked on me for 20 years, and that's what saved my life, because my sister didn't make it. She died, and from all the abuse, and she was in a different program, and that her abuse continued on into the 30s. I just walked away, and I was like, you're not gonna mess with me anymore. But of course, they continued to persecute me for quite a few years. I was targeted by the CIA for a long time, and that's over now. All that stuff is over, because I woke up. Because of Reiki, I woke up. Becoming a Reiki master, Ida, caused me to have a massive spiritual awakening. And this is my destiny in this lifetime. I know that I came here for this. I was an awakened child. I mean, I was talking about awakening as a little girl. I was telling my mother, what things need to change. We need to do something different. We need to wake up. Stuff you're talking about as a child is not as intense and deep as when you get to this stage in your life, when you've had an awakening and you suddenly realize, oh my God, look what's been going on here. So what I realized after I had a massive, I got triggered by an event that happened after I became a Reiki master, and I had my memories. When I had my memories, I went through 3 weeks of the most horrific possible memories you could ever imagine. And then I had a near-death experience where I got viral meningitis, and I left my body and went up to heaven and had a little conversation with God. And I said, I'm not ready to leave. You need to send me back, because I have 2 children to raise. There's absolutely nobody in the family who's awake or who's healthy. My mom passed away from all of it. My sister passed away, and everybody else is involved in dark behavior. So I had to come back. And I just said, you show me how to do it. Jesus did it. you promised us that we could heal ourselves of anything, God, and I believe in you, and I believe in healing, and my faith is unshakable. And so I just said to God, if you will show me and heal me, then show me how to do it, and I will serve you for the rest of my life. And of course, by then I already was a healer and a counselor. I went to college and got a degree and was a therapist. But I wanted to be more. I wanted to be a healer. I wanted to be an awakener. And I started that practice. So boom, I dropped back down into my body and I had this massive spiritual awakening, and God put him like a movie screen in front of me, Ida, where I was shown that why and how people are sick. So there's absolutely nothing about the medical profession that understands the real cause of illness. It's completely screwed up, and all the truth was taken out 100 years ago by the Rockefeller Foundation. And there used to be osteopaths and naturopaths and herbalists and homeopaths and chiropractors and all of that. And they were all ridiculed and stripped of their power right around 1918, 1920, right around there. And that's when Rockefeller bought all the medical schools and made it illegal. We're not even allowed to say the word cure. It's against the law. You can't mention a disease and then say that you cured it and without getting in trouble. So we're not allowed to do that. I learned that a long time ago, but I'm a healer. I don't have a degree I'm not a chiropractor or a doctor. So I'm free to do what I want to do with my energy. As a Reiki master, I'm outside of that world. So I'm a shaman, I'm a mystic, I'm a Reiki master. I can see people's energy field, and I work with them that way. So when God showed me that almost all illnesses are karmic and they're energetic imbalances, or they're incorrect thinking, incorrect behaviors, or trauma, it's like trauma is clearly why I was sick, but also the trauma was my choice in this lifetime to wake up. So I cannot be angry, even though it's hard for me, at my abusers, because they triggered my awakening. And all the abuse I got as a child, I was soaring off into every night, being molested, I was soaring off into the cosmos, talking to God as a little girl to blank out what was happening, and then they'd give me the mind control thing and erase it. And so I developed a strong relationship with angels and with God as a child. And the angels were in my room every night when I came back from an abuse session. And I would be sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and they would be sitting around my bed. It could even have been Jesus. I just know there were men in the room when I would come back from being abused. And I was scared of them when I was little. And I used to tell them to go away, but they just waited until I was ready. And then they came forward and said, "We are your angel guides," or whatever they were. Maybe they were archangels too, they were really powerful, and they protected me as I went through. I mean, I should have been dead. My sister didn't survive it. It's that traumatic. It's that bad. But that shook my soul awake, and I asked for the healing and the complete awakening, and I was given it. So from the time that I had that near-death experience on, I blasted into my true work. And ever since then, I've been healing people, and I wrote this book to help everybody. I've been through so much, and I wrote this book to save lives because I had a secret that the reason they persecuted me, they didn't want me to reveal what I knew about mind control and about healing and about the Masons. And another reason I knew that this was my divine destiny is the first person to come to me to be healed of mind control was JFK's assassin. And he came to me when I was a drug and alcohol counselor in my office as a client. And I gave him a Reiki, super duper Reiki soul treatment to wake him up. And he gave me permission to do it. And I said, "I can break your mind control. Let me try." And he said, "All I know is that I was in the CIA. I can't remember too much." So he had been taken through MK Ultra deprogramming so that he would not remember that he was the shooter on the grassy knoll. And so I worked on him. And yeah, and
That's
so
huge. Yeah.
It is huge. It's very, I know people probably think that I'm, I want some fame or something. And I don't get anything out of that. It was dangerous. Let me tell you, when he told me that that's who he was, when he called me in the middle of the night after I gave him the Reiki treatment. And he said, I need you to come down immediately. I'm having hundreds of memories of all the things that I did. And I said, well, I'll be there in the morning. And when I got there, he began, when people wake up and they're breaking, they're programming, they're sobbing, they're throwing up. I mean, this wasn't fake. He's like on his knees, begging for God's forgiveness, begging for my forgiveness, and telling me I'm the man who killed JFK. And he said I was on the grassy knoll. I'm the one that struck him in the forehead, but there were more shooters. So he told me the whole story and he showed me pictures and everything. And it's like, from that day forward, I had to keep a secret because he's a client and I wasn't allowed to say anything until he passed away. He has passed away. And, but you know what the thing is that once they mind control you, they attach symbols and attachments to you so that the minute you wake up, they know. And so that session with him where he woke up and I worked on him triggered off for me persecution by the CIA because they figured out that I was waking up and that I was going to reveal stuff. So I started writing this book. So this book has the story of, it doesn't have this JFK story in it, but on the next one will. My next book I'm writing on mind control healing for the whole world. Global healing, global mind control, and liberating humanity is what it's going to be. But this one is emerging from the matrix, healing human trauma and ending global enslavement. And there's so much information in here because I thought they were going to kill me. I didn't think I was going to make it. So in the back, I have 22 steps to soul transformation, which describes the awakening process, the healing process, and how you can do this as painlessly as possible. You don't have to go through an MK Ultra program like I did to heal. But that's why I went through it. I had a dual initiation. Mom initiated me into the light. Dad showed me the dark, and I used the light to heal the dark. And they tried to get me. They never could. And they don't, my dad's passed on now, and I'm no longer, I'm at a different vibration now. I'm at a high vibration now, so I don't get bothered anymore. So when I work with people, I can do anything from removing entities to soul retrieval, broken soul parts, soul fractals, past life regressions, shamanic healing, whatever. I do a lot of Reiki. In fact, this weekend, darling, tomorrow is Reiki 1 here in where I live. And I have some students arriving in the morning. And so we're going to do a Reiki 1 this weekend. There's still room. If anybody's in Florida, come on by.
Well, that's something I want to talk to you about when we get off
okay, sure.
because I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it came up kind of last minute.
Yeah.
This person had paid me some time ago and she wasn't able to come to the last class. So she just called me like a week ago and said, can we do it this week? And I went, okay. I didn't even have time to do an ad or anything. I just sent an ad out today, as a matter of fact. But the following weekend, Ida, just so you know, I'm doing Reiki 2. So we got 10 days here of Reiki. This weekend is Reiki 1. Next weekend is Reiki 2. I definitely
want to talk to you about that when we get when we're done with the show, because I am interested. I'm ready. Well, first off, let me just say thank you for sharing all that information with us. And for those that are listening or will be listening on YouTube, I can say I had one session with Salini when I first had my awakening. And I remember, I don't know what drew me to you, but I just felt very safe to hire you to do work on me, because there's only, I know the people that have done work on me, and I know that it's you're the real deal. But I will, Salini, so I was laying in the bed and I felt this rolling of energy roll up my body and roll back down, and then again roll up my body and back down. And it went on for some time. And the next day, Salini texted me. She said, honey, I just want to let you know I worked on you last night. Now, when I booked with you, you had said, well, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to you, but it will be in the next few days. So I didn't know when she was going to work on me, but I can tell you, I definitely experienced a Reiki session that was powerful. And I thank you so much. And that was, I think, 2014, 15. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But
I've been doing this since
yeah,
1990.
yeah. So I've told people about you for years.
I
But
also
Sal,
I also have a degree in counseling, so I started out with that. Just so people know, I am a therapist, but I didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to be the healer because you can't put your hands on people when you're a licensed counselor. So I left that behind, and but I worked for many years as a drug and alcohol counselor, and I found that most, most people that are addicted have experienced some severe trauma, and some of them have been abducted by aliens. Some of them have been through. A lot of these people were taken into these MK Ultra programs, and nobody's talking about that but me. You know, there's a
I
couple
would
people
love to
talking.
come on your show one day and share some of my experiences. I would love to do that. I haven't been given that opportunity yet, and I'm not quite sure. Not with you, not meaning with you, but in general, I've decided that it's time for me to start sharing my experiences, and I will one day when the opportunity arises. But I have so much appreciation and adoration for you, Salini. I think that you are definitely a leader, especially for the divine feminine and masculine. I think you're just a well-rounded, intelligent, powerful heart and soul. I know that your heart is in the right place and that you truly want to make a difference in people's lives. And that's, I feel that from you. I was um, very happy and grateful to have finally met you when you came here to Florida. We were able to meet. I've listened to you for years. I've watched different interviews that you've been on. Um, and I remember thinking one day something's going to open up for her. Because I remember when you first wrote your book, when I first met you, and you were sharing some of the information from the book, and you weren't really getting, traction. And now look what you're doing. I mean, you're reaching thousands of people, if not, I don't know how many people, but if you reach
Oh, they do everything they can to block me. I
yeah,
mean, despite the fact that I have a huge following, it never show more than 8,600 people on my YouTube channel. They're always unsubscribing people. I can be very controversial. So, I will share things that I used to. I can't anymore. In fact, I got a strike this week. So I can't be live on YouTube for another 2 weeks. But I have my website now, just so you know, and if you tell your listeners that my website is salini.love, and there's no .com. It's Salini, SALINI .LOVE, love. If you go there, and I can even show it to everybody, but I have my classes. I have a mystery school. I'm teaching people how to wake up. I've gone way past all the abuse, just so everybody knows I'm way past that. I'm into sacred rituals, healing, divine feminine, pujas, healing frequencies. I have a whole group of healing frequencies that are free, that are on my website, that will heal you from the what, and will.
I was able to share that from the last show that we did with Georgia in Gemma. I was able to
now
share
I
with
have it up.
People. Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
can show people if you want. I have it up now.
Okay.
And
well,
there's
yeah,
9 of
definitely.
them.
I mean,
do you want me to show it?
if you'd like, it's up to you. Sure.
Yeah, let me just show people what's going on here, because we're going into quantum healing. This is going to be awesome. Wait till you see. It's not just me. There's other healers doing it. But so here's my website.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, so this is the home page where what you read from, and this shows what I do. And here's my Reiki Healing Circle, which is every Sunday night at 8 p.m. It's free to everybody. And the Zoom link is right here. And then if you want to be a member, there's a membership. And then that's that. But if you go down to the mystery school, this is my mystery school. And there's classes here, all these classes that you can take. And I'm putting up new classes every day. because I just opened the website about 3 weeks ago. Here's my Reiki class, which is going to be this weekend and next weekend live. I do have an online class, but I haven't put it up yet because I really prefer live classes. Here is my pujas, and this is really important for people to understand, because once you break through your 3D matrix of pain, suffering, and trauma, you come into your divine self. You're in 5D, and you need these pujas, you need these sacred rituals to keep yourself at a high vibration. So I have several of them. This one is a 9 goddess power package for bringing in the divine feminine goddesses into your life. This one is a Ganesha obstacle removal. This one is a Durga protection puja, Kali Durga, because a lot of us are being attacked by the dark forces. And these are rituals I do alone, myself, for you. Yeah. And this one is a Shiva's career booster power puja. This one is my healing puja for whoever wants to be healed. This one is an abundance puja. I'm going to be teaching a class pretty soon. But this one is, you start doing your abundance work. It's working for me. Let me tell you, I'm really experiencing abundance. And this last one is me doing a coconut smashing for you, which is a karma busting one. I'm going to do one tomorrow, actually. Coconut smashing is, and there's a video here that explains it, but coconut smashing is all about removal of karma. And coconuts actually have given themselves over to humanity as a surrogate for humans. Everything has consciousness, coconuts, plants, everything.
Of course, yes.
And the coconut acts as a surrogate, like it's a head.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And, the coconut, you can live on coconuts alone. I mean, they've got liquid inside, which is almost the same as our bloodstream. And then they have the coconut meat. I love coconuts. And the meat is sustainable. And like if you were unconscious on a beach, you could stick a needle in your arm and put some coconut juice in there. It would save your life. Wow. But the shell of the coconut acts as your skull. And so when I do the ceremony, we break the coconut with the ritual I do, and it absorbs your karma. And these have to be done regularly because we're living out our karma right now, and we need to constantly be clearing ourselves. So that's that. So I have all these pujas for you. And then here's the healing frequencies, Ida. So yes. I have 9 right now, but I've got 5 more. I haven't had time to put them up. I'm so busy. So these healing frequencies are free. And let me tell you, the first one I got was this one, and this is for the the COVID, which I got last year and was sent to me by the Ascended Masters. And you print that out, put it under your bed or whatever, you're going to get well.
That's amazing.
I can't say.
I would love to try one for my, I love the chakra balancing one too. All of them, they're all worth it. Yeah.
Here's what chakra balance looks like. So you can try this one, and they all need to be printed. There's instructions, which I just received. I haven't had a chance to put those up. They need to be printed on glossy paper and cover them with some plastic, and you can put them under your bed and they will work.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then when it comes to this one with the CV, you need to put that under your food and water. That's what the mandala is for. These frequencies have already been sent to your quantum field, your aura. And then here is universal purification. This is for everybody. We all need to be purified. We're all going through it right now. So there's some instructions right here. And then below we have higher abilities. This is going to increase your spiritual abilities. So you need to print each one of these out, and you put them up around.
So you print them, and then you can put them under your bed, or how do you work with them though? How do you?
You can put them around the house, or you can meditate. You can put them up and do a meditation, or you put them up on your screensaver. You put them on your computer. Like, for example, this one here is for the EMF transmutation, put it on your phone and your computer. Like, here's some small ones to put on your phone. This one on your modem, and maybe this one up by your computer. So it transmutes the negative vibrations that are coming from the 3D matrix. Yeah. And then that's that one. And then
those are beautiful, Salini.
yeah, look at how beautiful they are. Now here
They
is,
are beautiful.
this one is for divine
Wow.
hearing. This is for, these are divine, these come from heaven. I can't tell you how I got these because that I'm not allowed to reveal it. They asked me not to. But
No worries.
I did not create these mandalas, just so you know, but somebody, there's a divine way that they were created. So this one's for hearing. And this one's for hair, skin, and nails, which I really need right now. My hair fell out after CV. Actually, it fell out when I was in the airplane. They sprayed us with the SPIKE, you know what's. And
Yeah,
I can't say the word.
I don't get on airplanes anymore, and I won't until things change. I mean, I want a vacation, I want to go places, but I just, yeah.
Now this one
If
is
I
the
can't drive there, I don't go.
this
But
is the advanced V repair frequency, and this is for people who went ahead and got, and now they decided to heal themselves. They're going to need this one.
yeah, I
And
highly
then,
recommend it. Anybody that is either, I don't know if we have any uh people in our life, but if not, once you know, once this is uploaded and published on YouTube, take the time to visit her website, Salini's website. She's got, I mean, this is how I see it. None of us have an excuse anymore. If we're serious about what, wanting to heal ourselves and get the help that's needed in order for us to move forward, make healthier and better choices for ourselves, we have to put the energy into it.
right. And these are free. These are free.
Exactly. So I highly, highly recommend. And if you're serious about, if you've got some blocks going on or anything that's, going on in your body that you want some assistance and assistance in healing yourself, I would highly recommend hiring Salini. I know she's the real deal. I've used her, and I don't recommend anybody unless I know what they're about and they're.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah.
Well, here's my book a session page, and here's all the options.
Yes.
Including my daughter, who's a professional psychic. She's a trip. And then here's my videos. If you're a member, you get membership videos, but I have free videos. And then I'm a regular on Spiritually Raw. So these are some of the interviews that I did with them. And so basically I just want to show everybody. And then also here's all my book. You can get my book on my website. And you can even get used copies. Like here's a used hardcover for $6. I mean, I don't make much money on the book, but the reason I want people to know about it, it's a manual for awakening. It's a step-by-step process of awakening. And I have like 15 stories of miracle healings in here that I did myself. So this is an amazing,
well, it's a lovely contribution to life. It's a gift that you've been blessed with, and you've paid it forward by writing the book. And whether you make a lot of money in it or not, that's not anybody's business. The point is that you put your energy, your time, and your effort into writing the
20
book.
years. I started this book. I started taking notes in 1986 because I knew that I was having an awakening. I had a box, a huge box that I moved to Hawaii for 2 years. Actually, I was there for 4 years, but 2 of those years I wrote the book, and I must have had 10,000 pieces of paper that I had to organize.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I know that task, because I had a couple clients. So some people know that I do ionic detoxes for people, and I also have started a cleaning business. And just quickly, I don't know how many binders up there that I shared the introduction to my book with a couple of my clients yesterday, and they were in awe. They were like, what? And my whole family was like, we didn't know you could write. I didn't know I could write till I start writing.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it? But
no, it's not. It requires a lot of stillness and silence and discipline. And I will tell you, I had angelic music play through my speakers when I was writing my book. Now that's when my targeting got really bad, because they knew that I was going to be writing things that, and I also, as I was writing, things were manifesting in my life. Everything I would write was playing out. And that's a whole nother thing I don't want to get into. That's why I said I would love to come on your show sometime. If you
one of these days, I'm still building. I'm adding. I need to get the school up, and then I'm
Yeah.
going to have some interviews up. So
Yeah. I
I've
mean,
just
no,
been
yeah.
swamped, totally
Yeah.
swamped with work and
I
projects.
get
It's
it.
just like nonstop,
Well,
you know.
I get it. Definitely, Salini. So I'm so happy that you shared all your information and those people that are interested. Salini has a show tonight of her own. You can go to her YouTube channel, um, Salini Apodaca.
It's Salini Teri Apodaca, and I'm currently on strike. They've given me a strike, so it'll be about 10 more days before I can go live again. But there's tons of videos there.
Right. So please do go and show support and subscribe.
Oh, one more thing. Let me show this, Ida, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I'm
Okay.
going to check Facebook real quick and see.
I just want to show people that this is my, let's see, where is it? Love stream. So because I've been censored everywhere across social media, they got me. They knew right away that I was somebody that needed to be silenced because I was a true speaker and was a powerful divine feminine. You can see me live here when I go live now and on Rumble. We've hooked it up so that I can, when I'm not on YouTube, I'm going to be here on this and on Rumble. So you might want to just check out, subscribe to Rumble, my Rumble channel, which is Salini, or just check my love stream. It's called the Love Stream. And this is it. And when you click on it, if I'm live, you're going to see me live here.
I love
so,
that.
We're going to get increasingly more censored. The worst, we haven't come into the storm yet. It's not over. And when that happens, I'm going on my website and hopefully that's going to stay up. That's been.
Can we speak to that for a second? So there's a few things that have happened because I know that, I'd just like for you to, maybe make a comment or two about, this, what happened in, I know that the topic was balancing the divine feminine and masculine and how we, self-empowerment and how to do that. And we are going to have Salini back on first, a part 2 and possibly more if she would kindly bless us with her presence. That would be lovely because you're just full of so much information and I learned so much. I mean, as much as I think I know, I realize I don't know much, right? There's more to learn and unveil.
Oh, well, I'm still learning. I'm still learning too.
Yes, exactly. So I definitely don't, but pretty much most of what you spoke of, I am aware of the things that you shared in the beginning, except when you mentioned the MK Ultra program of the speed reading. I've never heard of that, although I'm sure that that is definitely a real possibility, and I believe you.
I was there. It's real.
So, but so this thing that happened in Texas, and these children that are, that we lose to some very unsavory beings, should I say, although I don't prefer to be in a place of judgment. And that's really not where I'm coming from. It's just, it's unfortunate that this is the way, things are happening on this planet that continue every so often. It's like we have some time where things are, quiet, not too much is happening. And then all of a sudden, like a domino effect, all these different things start, they come out with the MONKEY nonsense. And then we've got, children that are losing their lives. We've got, actors that are playing characters of being something, that they're not, and on and on and on. And it's just, these dark satanic rituals that take place. And unfortunately, I put a post out saying, what is the meaning of false? And it's doing something, making it appear real when it's not, something along those lines. Don't quote me, go look it up yourself. But it's true. It's a constant false flag that we are under, this dream spell, that, nonsense. I mean, you can't I don't watch the news, haven't for years. I don't watch regular TV. Very seldom will I watch a movie. And if somebody, if it's highly recommended, if there's a lot of symbolism or, messages that I could pick up. I mean, I have some capabilities of doing things as well. And I'm able to, intuit certain information and feel into it and know whether it's a real concern or not, and so forth. But so my question is, what are your thoughts about what happened in Texas? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I felt the energy of it, and I felt death, and I felt the death of children, and it came and hit me. It's happened to me several times. It happened to me with the Jim Jones thing down in Guyana when that thing happened. I can feel it when there's a tragedy and souls are crossing over, like 9/11. So this was both a false flag, but it was also, children were also killed. So a lot of people are saying it's like SANDYHOOK.
Right.
And yes and no, because even in that one, I don't believe there were any deaths. But this one, yes. This one, yes. And the difference is that this is a real community that I can't really say too much about the other one. Let's just put it this way, that there were children that died and there were teachers that died, but it's set up. I mean, obviously the policeman's standing outside and saying, well, we can't go in because we might get shot. And it's like, well, you know what? That's your job. Put on your bulletproof vest and get your tail in there. Whereas the parents were wrestled to the ground, were not allowed to go in.
Well,
so
we know that they're considered peacekeepers. Let me just, speak to what you just said for a second, and how cowardly. I wasn't aware that police officer said that. And I will use the word cowardly. And
yeah, they are cowards, but they're paid.
I'm sorry.
They're paid to be cowards.
Oh yeah.
They're paid to stand down. This was a setup.
That's exactly correct. So people think when they hear false, we know what, they think that nobody dies, that it's just all staged. That's not true. There are sacrifices that are made. But the point of it being considered false is that they stage actors and actresses and things, prompts and the whole bit, so they can dream spell us into believing a certain thing to steer the minds of people into fear more than anything, so that they can gain more control over our decisions and our choices. Because once you go into fear, you give your power away. It's that simple. I'm not talking about if you see fire, you don't walk in it, it's fire. I mean, fear is if you want to use the word fear, there is a necessary happening that happens in the body when we're in situations that we get close to something that may cause harm, and intuitively we know there's something wrong and we need to protect ourselves. I get that, but I'm talking about the psychological fear that's created when these kinds of things are happening, and people automatically shut down and they just say, okay, and give all their power over to these false FLAGs.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing is that, like, I coined a term back in 1990, which I call the traumatic trance. And because I went through it myself, because I was in trance by the trauma, just as the JFK assassin was traumatized by the MK Ultra programming that he went through. And then he went into a trance, because what they do is they put you in a trance. It's just like if people watched Harry Potter, Hermione used to do the obliviate, which was to wipe out your memory. Well, they wipe out your memory when you go through the MK Ultra program, but they leave the trauma in place, because the trauma is what they trigger when they control you. So what they do is they're triggering you over and over, so that you're always kind of a knee-jerk hypervigilance, and they get a hold of you. Now, I have an entire chapter on the trauma. I don't know if you can see it. The trauma codes is what I call it. And that you have to undo your own trauma. You have to undo your own trance. And then the next chapter I call trauma as transformation. Because what I understood about myself was that my trauma is what really triggered my transformation, because it broke apart my ego and my persona. And in order for me to wake up, I had to go get the broken pieces, and I had to put myself back together like Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, and it had to be put back together again, like a jigsaw puzzle. And I was really broken. I was totally broken. So there is a lot of really important information that I've decided to write into a second book, which I'm going to be calling Healing Global Mind Control and Liberating Humanity. And so there's 3 chapters in here on this. It's really important because most people don't know that they are in a trance. And that started like when we were, you probably, I think you're younger than I am, but I was alive when JFK was killed. And I remember it quite well. It was shocking. And I cried. And he wasn't even, my parents voted for Nixon. So we weren't even into JFK if I was a child. But I was shocked and I cried and I thought, what's happening? I remember thinking, why would somebody kill our president? And that triggered off the, beginning of like lots of questioning and stuff like that. And then comes 9/11, of course, which is the next stage of their plan. But the way to look at this is it's also 9/11 was actually our awakening. It was a tower moment. It's when everybody was like, wait a minute now. People all over the world looked at that and said, this is really fishy.
Well, that's also a particular being's birthday too. And I know that to be a fact.
I know, but what I'm saying is that trauma.
Well, it doesn't. Well, my point is they use these dates, certain dates for certain rituals to take place to create and do magic and.
Right. But the trauma rituals are specifically designed to steal your power because when you're traumatized, you're wide open, and this is what I say in the book. There's certain times in your life when you're wide open for your energy to be stolen. One of them is when you're like in a car accident, you're traumatized. They take you to an emergency room. You're all wide open. Another one is childbirth, when a woman is like screaming and baby's coming out and things can happen. Being in a hospital emergency room. During sex, actually, is a time when other people's energy can enter into your body and take over. So you better watch out who you're having sex with because their energy becomes your energy. So I explain in my book about trauma and how it impacts us to shut us down and to make it possible for them to lose our energy. And so I called it the traumatic trance. And then now everybody's saying mass formation psychosis, which to me doesn't really explain what's happening, but I get it. People are trying to put some kind of name on the fact that everybody's asleep. Well, everybody's traumatized from decades of wars, 9/11, poisons in the food, fluoride in the water, and in all kinds of things that they've done to traumatize us. And I hate to say it, but it's about to get worse. They're going to poison, if they haven't already, the water supply of the United States. From what I understand, it's been poisoned and we're not supposed to drink it anymore, which is what that guy that came forward and talked about the VENOM, I don't want to say that word either. And so then we're also going to move through some kind of famine, which may not last very long because if you're taking care of business, you're going to be okay. I don't know how long it's going to be. But we haven't moved into the storm. So when you're asking me about that, the reason they're doing that in Texas, and they're going to be more of them. In fact, there was one today in Tulsa, Oklahoma, this morning in a hospital. Somebody shot somebody. So they're doing this. This is their last gasp, their last straw, is how many people can we kill to get everybody to give up their guns? And we just need to.
That's not going to happen. You know that.
No.
You don't believe that. Yeah. Never
No.
gonna happen.
No, Americans will never give up their guns because we fought for our freedom. And we see what happened in China and Russia when they gave up their guns. They're totalitarianism, and then across the globe, Cambodia, Vietnam, the Arab world, Africa, wherever they gave up guns, Canada, Australia. Look at what's happening in Canada and Australia. They're being terrorized. I've lived in Australia and they're being terrorized. And that's because they can't fight back. It's illegal to have a gun. So if you have a bunch of thugs come to your door and say, we don't like it that your wife was at work and she said she wasn't going to get vaccinated or whatever, excuse me, I use that word. Then, if they want to thug you out, they will. Yeah. And that kind of thing is coming for the whole world because they just passed the WHO treaty. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but the WHO treaty was put forth this past week by those people in Davos. And that treaty states that they can declare a new pandemic over the whole world whenever they want to. And that if they believe that we need to have a new pandemic and then they will do it whenever they want to. So in other words, they passed the law, and what was required was the president of every country to sign it. So Mr. B.
So all the presidents signed it?
I don't know if all of them did, but ours did. Our fake president did. So now
we know he's not the president.
Yeah, but he signed it. And
I'm not going for that nonsense. No way.
But they're going to try to enforce another pandemic. That's what they're going to try to do.
Well, hopefully enough people have awakened and realized what the heck. I mean, I don't know what it takes. I mean, cognitive dissonance is
it's the traumatic trance. That's why I'm writing this.
Unbelievable. It just blows my mind. I mean, of course, I've had, my entire family has gone out and chose to do what they did. And, I, in 2013, took a flu shot after saying no 1,000 times and turned around, and I don't know what came over me. I interviewed James Bartley and was sharing some information with him. And he's like, that's what they do. They test on us, those of us that have been using these projects and programs. And, I definitely knew not to, but something I don't know what made me sit there and allow that woman. She looked like a devil with a human face. And once she shot that into my body, I was like this. It was horrible. And it put my body into shock. And it wasn't a good thing. And I just said, never again will I ever allow them to inject me with anything. My body, even my doctor said something's attacked your neurological system, and that's exactly what it did.
Oh, I'm so sorry, hon.
Yeah,
you know what? Get those two frequencies. Get those two frequencies off my website.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to make it my business to print them, for sure. And yeah, I mean, I have different tools around the house, and I go in and out with work. I'll work with them, for a while, and then I stop, and then I work with them for a while. I mean, I've got pyramids and tools and pots and all kinds of, stuff around my house. I mean, I wear this. Jay Parker made this for me. I don't know, for some of y'all may be familiar with Jay Parker, but he was also used in satanic ritual abuse.
Yeah, he has been a outspoken leader in that.
Yes. So he made this in a pyramid for me, and he and I used to kind of just briefly, we were in contact with one another years ago, but I've learned a great deal from him as well. I mean, you guys have been anyways, I'm just well, now you got my mind thinking about this new, so I'm going to sit with that this evening and try to see if I could pick up some information. But
well, I don't know how far they're going to get. I mean, this is their last gasp.
Think they're going to get far, Salini.
At some point, it's going to end. I just, I've given up trying to
talk about food shortage and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that there's, that we shouldn't prepare ourselves, but I just don't buy into the fear nonsense. I claim my sovereignty and I empower myself. So just quickly, I just want to speak to that. Every day you wake up and you just set the intention. I have a white candle over there, and I light that candle. I say, today I set the intention to invite more love and compassion in my life, or help me to be an extension of your divine love and compassion source. Show me the way, God. Show me what can I do to be of service, and use me and bless my hands so that I can bless others and all that. Like, every day I just choose that, and I'm not perfect in it. I have my challenging days, and there's some days when I really have a tough time just getting myself up and going. But those are far and few between. They're much less than it was, but I've done a lot of internal work and healing, and it's people like yourself that I look to for guidance, and I get strength. I look forward to hearing information coming from people that I trust where it's coming from. But even
Mhm.
then, I still run it through my own, meter, and decide for myself and discern and decide what, what I want to give my attention or focus to and what I don't. Because everything is vying for our attention, isn't it, Salini?
Right. Oh my God, you just nailed it. I've stopped listening, even though I consider myself a truther. I've stopped listening because it was too exhausting. And
Yes.
I'm not even doing any truther stuff myself. I'm talking about my spiritual awakening
Yeah.
and teaching people how to spiritually awaken, because that's really what my mission is. And it's it's just too exhausting. I mean, I tried to
It
listen to
was. It's
everything,
been heavy.
and it's like, who do we listen to? I mean, some of the truthers are suspect. I mean, I don't want to get into that. I'm not saying they're bad. I don't really know for sure what some of the information is, doesn't mean
Yeah.
they're bad people. I'm just saying, I'm not sure if that's accurate, because what I was told by people at the top was that they're going to release a lot of disinformation through the truthers to confuse the deep state. So it's better for me to go inward and listen to my soul and my own guidance and make statements based on that, rather
Yep.
than try to compete for whoever it is that's got the most information. I don't really want to anymore. I'm really working on my mystery school and on my book and stuff like that, and getting people ready for the transformation to come. It's coming.
I
I don't
think
know if
it's already,
it's
honestly, I think it's already happening and happened. I think that this is just my own perspective. I think that everybody, I have full memory of seeing, um, uh, what's it called? I don't know what you want to call it. It was, uh, my mind's uh, flares coming through the sun.
mm-hmm.
I looked up and it was mind blowing, just beautiful. I can't even tell you. I have full memory. So, but it was in another, if you want to say dimension, another timeline. It was just beautiful, Salini. I remember it like yesterday. So I think that my point is that there are different stages, and everybody is has their own personal timeline of awakening, and then as a collective. And I think the timelines have become less. I think we're working with what, three, maybe four at this point, where it used to be, there are many that people were tapping into, and there was, different people were talking about, this Armageddon timeline and the whatever, all these different information that people are picking up and getting and so forth. But I have, uh I'm confident in saying that it's already happened. It's just our soul moves so much quicker than our body that we have to catch up, right? And when we can balance our heart and mind and really sit still with that and connect in, like you just said, connect in instead of looking for it out there. There's nothing wrong with, I mean, be smart. If you have different sources of information that you trust, and, but you
Right.
still got to run things through and use your own discernment and decide if it's something that's important to you, how much value you give to it, and how you use the information. I'm not a person that's like, oh, life is, I don't wake up and life is miserable and everything is heavy for me. I have always, considering the things that I've experienced in my life, I've always been a pretty enthusiastic, outgoing person, but I have my moments for sure. But I trust that things will and are getting better. I think that the band aid needs to be ripped off. People, need to have a good look at, because we want to blame, and I'll speak for myself as well. When I say we in general, people want to blame the government and blame everything outside of themselves instead of taking the responsibility of being self actualized and taking ownership of their own choices, what they put in their body, what they eat, how they do, what they contribute to say thank you to the divine every day. And, thank you, Salini, for coming on my show and sharing this valuable information with all of us. I thank you. I appreciate you. And there are a lot of people that I look to and I appreciate.
Well, the thing is, yeah,
yeah.
the thing is that if people are not shocked awake, nothing's going to change. So I do
Right.
believe there's going to be a big major global trauma. And I don't know that exactly what it is, if it's a war or if it's a famine or if it's the mass die-off of people who decided to get the you know what. But there's no way we're going to go through this smoothly. And that is part of the message I received from the Holy Spirit when I went through my own healing, was that trauma is what is required. Suffering is required to wake up. There is, I'm going to just make this very clear to people. There's no such thing as waking up without trauma. Absolutely no such thing. It doesn't happen. And believe me, I've talked to and I've studied many, many, many swamis and yogis and
why do you think that is?
Because people are not willing to move out of their comfort zone, and they get mentally locked into a certain mindset, whether it's Catholicism or Muslim or Scientology, or become intense business corporate people, or whatever
That's very interesting that you say
their
that.
gig is. No, because I went through it, it was shown to me that awakening only happens through suffering. And part of the reason is that that's what makes you develop character. It makes you develop discipline, for fortitude, stick-to-itiveness, surrender, humility. These are the things that cause you to have an awakening when you release your ego. You know, like I was like a superstar when I was younger. You know, I was headed for Hollywood. The psychics all told me, you're going to be the next Marilyn Monroe. You're going to be the biggest star in the history of the world. I wrote a book co-wrote a screenplay that was nominated for an Oscar, but all that got taken away. And rightly so, because I have a higher purpose. My ego got crushed, and, you know, I couldn't do it, and everything and I just let it go. I realized, okay, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. But it wasn't easy.
We have a lot in common, but I won't get into that. I mean, I wasn't aware of that, but now that you just, you know, I know, I mean, I've listened to a lot of your interviews, so but I think I heard you
that's what I wanted to do, but I also went to college, and I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to, I'm kind of an intellectual, you know, I like to study and learn things. So that part of me was active. I became a counselor, and because I became a mother so early, there was no way I could go to Hollywood. You know, they wanted me to leave the kids behind and come down. I said, I'm not going to ever do that, you know. Mm-hmm. So you have to give up that part of your life to become a star. And that was just not on the agenda for me. I cared too much about humanity and my kids. I got 5 planets in Aquarius. I'm a spiritual leader. That's what I'm here to do. And it took me a while to figure all that out. And so in the process, there was all this trauma, people rejecting you, pushing you away, taking things away. But that's what made it possible for me to surrender, Ida, and for me to become more humble and to really do the work that I'm here to do. So, did you want to talk about, are you looking at your puppy?
I am. I can't, if you've seen it, that's what he's looking like right now, like mommy. He's got his mat flipped up and everything. He's been such a good boy in this whole thing. Do you mind if I get him out? Do you mind?
Of course not. I got my kitty here somewhere. I don't know where he is.
Boy. You want to say hello?
Hey, Prince.
Hi.
Prince.
He's turning his head. He's trying to figure out. Prince. Wow. Say hi. I love you. I love you, buddy. I'm so proud of you. You did so good today. Okay. No play right now. Anyway.
Well, did you want to talk about the divine feminine for a little bit before we get?
Sure, we can do that. Absolutely. Please do.
I think that there's something really important to address, which, you know, has been in the news. And I think it's a good way to introduce this topic. And that's the relationship with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, which in my opinion, that happened for a reason, that it's showing us there's so much toxicity in all of our relationships. And many of us have had, maybe not like that one, but similar toxicity. You know, I mean, I was definitely went into a toxic relationship after being abused, you know, as a child. So what I saw there was these are two really severely abused people who were looking for that healing in each other instead of in themselves. And I think I saw there's a lot of yin energy in Johnny, a lot of divine feminine energy. He's very soft. And of course he's an alcoholic and he has his problems. I'm not excusing anything that might have happened there, but he has embraced overall his yin, which has made him very attractive to women because he's not a harsh male. He's also part Native American, so he has it's a very deep, soulful feeling about him. And so because he was abused and he, you know, never stood up to his mother, he drew in an aggressive woman who is also, you know, bisexual, and she was married when they met to a woman. And so she's very masculine. And it was interesting, they reversed roles, and it was hard for him to stand up to her. It's usually the woman that has a hard time standing up to the man, you know?
Well, can I say something about that? I do know, and I've heard, I mean, I've done enough, or a bit of reading and little research and so forth. And I do know that, from my understanding, and I don't know this to be an absolute fact, but I do know that they can switch souls. They can put a masculine soul in a feminine body, and vice versa. But the Illuminati do this. They're actually men and women that are changed at a young age.
Yeah, you're talking about the Baphomet thing, but I don't think that's what's happening here.
Okay. But,
no.
You know, I find it interesting. I wasn't sure. I mean, I haven't looked into it. I haven't, you know, I mean, I just haven't. I've got a lot of other things going on. I haven't given it a whole lot of, I mean, I've read a little bit, but not much. But I did notice a post saying, why hasn't shoot, my mind is going blank. What's the lady's name that got
Amber Heard?
No, that got in trouble for the guy that were doing the sex slave.
You mean Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yes. Why isn't their court live on TV? And
oh, come on. I think we know who controls the media.
Yeah.
We're not going to hear that.
Why would they be black? Okay, so this is the question. Why are they making such a using the Johnny Depp divorce and that whole thing?
I think people are way too caught up in, now they're getting kind of jaded and they think everything's a psyop and blah, blah, blah. This is a real life story of two people who were toxic. It came together. They were both using drugs and they acted out their abuse on each other. And what I see here is that they didn't go inward and do their own personal work so that they could, because they actually really did love each other, and they didn't bring that to the table. Instead, they brought their wounds to the table.
Well, that's usually what happens, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, her parents were abusive. They were both heroin addicts and they were violent. So Johnny becomes a surrogate father, and he's got this abusive mother, and his father never stood up to her. So here comes Amber, who's acting that out. And so I think we get a chance to see what's unbalanced in our world through this relationship. And I think there was a lot of takeaways here. One of them was that I've never seen a man stick up for himself like Johnny did. And like he said, he didn't care about the money. He didn't care about anything. He wanted the truth to come out, that he was never an abuser. Now, you know, he was verbally abusive, but there wasn't a single person that had known him in all these years that had ever seen him abuse a woman. And there was no evidence in the trial. So this is an important lesson. This is one of the reasons men are angry at women. And this is one of the reasons relationships are damaged, is that they never got to stick up for themselves. They never got to say, hey, I got abused too. And I think this goes all the way back to men being circumcised at birth. And we need to stop circumcision. This is violence, is sexual violence against men. And
Yeah.
we don't need to be circumcised. They don't need to be circumcised, you know.
Mm-mm.
We're born that way with a flap, you know. Why do you have to cut it off? You don't. And I
Well,
mean,
that's another ritual that the Judaism. I mean,
right. So
that's
the point I'm making is that there's a
stop
lot
it.
of
Stop it.
unspoken sexual and physical and emotional
Give
and
me one
mental
second. I'm
violence.
sorry, Salini. You're saying he's teething. He's lost a lot of his teeth, and he uses my hand as a
Yes.
yeah. It's too
He's
much.
a baby.
Yeah. Um. Well,
Well,
I'm glad
so
that you brought that up. So yeah, the divine feminine. So you said that Johnny Depp holds a lot of divine feminine, and a lot of women trusted him and felt safe with him, is what you're saying. And
yeah, and I just think that, you know, well, here's what needs to happen is that the divine feminine, sacred masculine within ourselves needs to be balanced. So she was way too aggressive, and though she looks really pretty on the outside, she's kind of masculine and aggressive. And he looks handsome, but he's kind of yin, except for when he's drinking. And that's probably when he lashes out and tells her whatever nasty things he wants to say.
yeah,
And that's not divine feminine or divine masculine.
no,
So I'm just using them as an example that we have to go inward. You know, those of us who've had those kind of relationships, you know, I came out of a household where the women were despised. All of us were totally disregarded and despised. We weren't even allowed to have any money or anything. And so I got, you know, my relationships weren't all bad, but I did have relationships with people who were like that, who were very narcissistic and abusive. So you have to learn that. This goes back to what I said a moment ago about the trauma. You have to experience the trauma of something you don't want before you can really move beyond it and know what you really do want. Like having a super painful relationship made me know that I never wanted to do that again, you know? And that was just one of the many lessons I had to learn. But if I had one of these white picket fence lives, look at people you know that were like one of my siblings. I mean, I hate to say it, but everything handed on a silver platter, no struggle, nothing, everything given, jobs, houses, money, everything. This person is asleep completely. Zero understanding.
now that you mentioned that, I haven't, I mean, I guess I've given it thought before, but I definitely had to go through serious trauma in order, but I came in awake like you. I mean, I did. My whole life, I've been telling my family, I have precog, I dream, I have dreams, the dreams come true. I mean, I'll tell, what I dream and then it happens. And, I've been mocked and teased by my family about this for a long time. And
Well, these are our gifts, and those come from the divine feminine. Those are divine
yeah,
feminine gifts. Those are not
yes.
divine masculine. And that's not to put masculine down. They have their own gifts. But that's one of the things I saw with this case was how a men got to say, you know what, sometimes we get abused, and that makes it hard for them to have their gifts because they have to be tough and strong, and they
Well,
can't
they
say
hold a lot of shame, right? Yes,
right.
they hold a lot of
They can't,
shame.
you know, it was really like she said to him, try and tell the world that you, Johnny Depp, were abused and see who's going to believe you. Well, you know, that's really shameful for a man to say a woman abused me, but he did it, which, you know, he risked his reputation because he said, I want my children to respect me and I want the world to know that I'm not an abuser. I'm not perfect, but I'm not an abuser.
Yeah.
That's being very vulnerable and being very divine feminine. It's the yin in him that is doing that. You know, a macho man's not going to do that. They're not going, hey, you know, I got to be, no, they're just not going to say anything or else they're going to smack her
Well,
back.
that's what I'm saying. The shame, I think that, shame is shame, but I think men and women experience it differently. And because of the stigma or the idea that they have to be macho and tough and, God forbid anything like that happened to me, there's no way I wouldn't let that happen. And, when you're a little boy and you're overpowered, unfortunately, those things happen. And there's, a great deal of shame and guilt. And um, I've, I mean, I've talked to people and men that it's a tough thing to admit to themselves,
Well,
basically.
the reason why is because then they have to go back, describe the trauma, which goes all the way back to day one. And that's when I was so proud of him for sharing. How embarrassing is it to talk about the fact that his mother beat him and threw things at him, and that his dad, I don't know if you noticed, I don't know how much you watched of it, but his dad never walked away until one day she did something horrible to him, which they blanked out in the trial. And it was so shameful that they didn't even want it on the record. So Johnny's example of a man was somebody who could never stand up to anybody. And so he had to explain out loud all these embarrassing events, which to me is very courageous, because it made me cry because I had to do it. And he's famous and everybody loves him. So people are going to be, oh, you know, they're going to love him. Nobody loved me when I do it. I was rejected, but I did it anyway. And that is the divine masculine in me, that I was strong enough to stand up to all the men. So this is part of the healing of the divine feminine and the divine masculine.
Salini, when you just said that.
What's that?
You just reminded me. When I was a little girl, there was a man, and a Spanish Puerto Rican man who molested me, and that man was able to pack his family and move back to Puerto Rico within 2 weeks. Nothing was ever done. My sister didn't believe me. She sent me to my room, and my mother never did anything. I mean, my father, I don't believe, was ever told, because I believe that had my father known, he probably would have handled things much differently than the way it happened. But that was the first time that I remember. Well, that's what told me not to speak up and tell when things happened to me. You just made me think of that.
That's it.
Yeah.
And see how Johnny had to do it, and the reason why was, I heard him say, I had to think about it for a long time, but it reached a point where it was out of control, where everything she said just destroyed his career, destroyed his family. He lost all the money. He lost $100 million. I mean, it's pretty serious.
Stop it. Sorry.
So, that's a point where you have to stand up and you say, enough is enough is enough. And in his case, he's got the money to do it. But I felt like it was an example for the world and how to end narcissism and more than just abuse, but like how to become divine within yourself by self-love. He was loving himself, and of course he needed to get sober. And so there was a number of things going on there that I felt were takeaways for the world. And I'm hoping that she gets some therapy. But the bottom line is the divine feminine is coming into this planet right now. And I thought it was interesting that it came through him in this particular case, because a lot of us females are taking that on. I know I am, but pardon me, but I saw it on him. I could see the divine feminine in him, and where he was allowing himself to be vulnerable and exposed and embarrassed and sharing his feelings, which men need to see, that they need to share their feelings. That's where the healing is. And then we women can come in and love them,
Well, we women need to give them the opportunity to share the feelings and not judge them or, belittle them because they're being soft and open and vulnerable. A lot of women
I would never
Arabic
do that.
culture. I've watched different stuff. I mean, I'm Arabic, and there's a lot of, the men aren't looked to, they're looked to be providers and to be strong men, and you don't do that. I mean, the old days, I think it was more like that. I think it's softened up a bit now here, but I don't know. I just, and it's not just Arabic. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but
no, I know what you're saying is that.
Yeah, it's just like culturally, I didn't grow up in Arabic culture. My sister and brother married Arabs, but it's embedded in my DNA to be cater to men and to be Wonder Woman for everybody and all that good stuff. And I just won't do it anymore. I mean, I catch
Well,
myself. Yeah.
we women are taught to serve and to
Yeah.
stand in the background and let men go forward. But I'm too strong for that. And that's why I was rejected by my family. I mean, my mother did it, my sister did it, and they both died from it. They never stood up for themselves, and it
Oh, my
destroyed them.
mom did. My mother did. She did. She told. I remember she was pregnant with me, and found out when my father and my mother split. She told she when my mom and dad split up, that was it. She never dated anymore. Nothing. She never put up with their nonsense. I will give that to her. My mother was a strong woman, but she also had 12 kids. I do believe she was used as a breeder.
God.
Yeah, and I'm the youngest, so.
Well, I have to get going. I've got a class to teach.
Yeah,
so.
I get it. So, Salini, share your information again, where people can contact you, your website. I would love to have you come on as a part 2. This was kind of an soft opening to people getting to know you on my channel. And
yeah, we'll have to see. I'm gonna be going to Costa Rica soon, so we'll see. I'm not sure what my schedule's like, but we'll talk.
I want to go to Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Yeah.
Well, people can find me at salini.love, and my class is this weekend and the following weekend, Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, but I'll probably do another one in July in short notice for everybody I know, but I'll do a Reiki 1 for probably in July, depending on who's interested. You can get my pujas on my website. You can purchase them and I'll do it for you. Or the healing frequencies are free, or you can book a session and I'm available. Or you can get my book on Amazon, Emerging from the Matrix, Healing Human Trauma and Ending Global Enslavement. And if you can't afford a session with me, this book maps out how to wake up and how to self-heal. Everything's in here that you need. So give it a shot. Okay?
You're fantastic. Thank you, Salini. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, hon.
I appreciate you, and I definitely see you as a leader in the spiritual community. I know that you're reaching many hearts, and I'm thankful for that. And I look forward to having you come back again. Maybe when you return from Costa Rica or before, we'll just see how things go. People, please go to her website, book a session if you're able to. You will be very pleased at the results, and then check out our website and get some of those downloads. I mean, I'm definitely going to do that. I appreciate you. Thank you, Salini.
All right. So I say to all your followers, Om Namah Shivaya, take refuge in the goddess. This is just as a final message. This is the time of the goddess, of the divine feminine. The healing has come to earth. So when we were starting about the divine feminine, it's because she will heal you through many different ways, just like this trial was one. But people like me are coming into your life to give you the healing that's been denied. The mother energy has been denied here, and that's why there's imbalance on this planet. So soon it's going to help us all. We're going to wake up and we're going to be okay. So Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you. Very good. All right.
Okay, we'll see you then.
All right. Bye-bye.